All right, welcome friends. This is our fourth and final Career Spotlight series here at the library. This week we have Mr. Joel Foreman as our guest. He is the choir teacher at the high school and does a lot with music in the school district, and we are really excited to have him, and we'll let him take it away. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman.
Yeah, thanks for having me and inviting me. This is super fun. I'm glad to know about this series, and I think it's really cool that students have an opportunity just to get to know other, professionals in the community and career pathways, and just be thinking about opportunities that they might have and that tie in with their interests. So, yeah, honored to be asked. Thanks for including me and being a part of it. Where can I start? What would you like to know?
Well, let's see. How about what do you like most about your job and what do you like the least?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, the thing I like most is easy, and that is working with students, obviously, but I would say probably the part of that work with students that I enjoy the most is seeing kids like really maximize their potential, like really achieve something that maybe even they didn't think they could possibly achieve, whether that's a certain style of singing or a difficulty level of a song. Maybe that's auditioning into an ensemble or a part in a musical um, successfully, and just seeing kids light up, I think, when they not only just grab new information, but they see their work pay off, um, and their achievement level go up, as well as their confidence. And that's not just the kids that are the very best or the my finest singers. That's anybody at any ability level. I think a lot of people, especially in music, believe like you have it or you don't, right? And there's over 100 kids in vocal music at the high school, and I love every single one of them, but they're not all amazing singers, just like we're not all amazing at math or we're not all amazing at science, but we get in and we learn and we try. And when kids are willing to, work hard and put forth effort, they achieve things that I think a lot of them, especially with singing, maybe didn't have the confidence to do before. And then they get to a place where they do try out, or they do sing a solo by themselves in front of the class or whatever that is. And I think that really is the piece that I enjoy the most, is just seeing the growth and the confidence and the ability all just come together. That's super fun as a teacher. I think if I'm being, so we got to be honest here, right? We can't just fluff stuff and lie, but I think the piece that I don't like the most is probably the piece maybe I didn't expect to be part of the job. And that's like all of the kind of office work side of it. Like if my favorite thing is working with students, then my least favorite thing is the work that I do that's not with students. So grading and emails and paperwork and requisitions and all that kind of thing. I guess I always just look at it as like, that's the price I pay to get to work with kids and do what we do in music. And that's just part of running a program. And I think any job, you talked about a zoologist or a business owner that you've worked with and talked with before, I think probably everybody has components of their job that they're not wild about. The bigger question is it worth it? And for me, yeah, it's hard to put a price tag on what it's like to work with these students here. So if that means there's some office time, then so be it. It's worth it in the end.
Awesome. Yeah, Miranda says that she's got a question. Do you want to ask it, Miranda, or do you want me to ask?
Teachers do paperwork?
Say that one more time.
How do you grade someone singing?
Isn't that a great question? Golly sakes, that comes up a whole lot. If my principal watches this right now, he'll probably smile. So yeah, when we grade for music, it's more about it's not like, is your voice the best voice and you get an A and your voice isn't very good, so you get you get a C or a 2 out of 4, whatever it is. We grade the skills. So can you read the notes? Can you learn to read the notes on the staff, which you've all had Mrs. Lyons and now Mrs. Frerick probably, so I'm pretty sure you probably can all read the notes on the staff. And can you tell your key signatures? And can you talk to me about like what good technique is? Can you tell me what it takes to produce a really healthy sound? Because there is a lot of singing that like is physiological and it changes as you grow up, changes as you get older and your vocal cords change. And so it wouldn't be fair to a student, let's say a young fella whose voice is changing and who can maybe only get 4 notes out for a little while, right? That wouldn't be fair to grade him for something he can't control. So we kind of grade the content knowledge more than we grade and the ability to teach it or explain it more than we grade the I don't know, execution of it, if that makes sense. Does that kind of click? So yes, don't be afraid of not being the best singer. Hop in choir and give it your best effort and you'll be just fine.
That was a great question, Miranda. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question for you, Mr. Foreman.
Yes,
So, did you always know that you wanted to be a choir teacher, or how did you come into this career?
You bet. So I think like probably most people, I had all kinds of things I wanted to be when I was younger. I was going to be a baseball player until I realized that I was not going to be a baseball player. And then I wanted to be everything from a chef. I wanted to own my own jazz club. I had all kinds of things that I was like kicking around. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, and this is where I would say that I'm pretty lucky. This is something I feel very blessed to have experienced. I had a choir teacher in high school and I was a sophomore, and one day it just jumped up and kind of like bit me. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to create these opportunities for students, for them to have the same opportunities that I've been given. My family was always musical. Like, I was in church choirs, and my dad played for the symphony, and my mom was a music, like a piano teacher. And so music was always part of my life, but I never thought about that as a job before. It was just something we did. And then once I experienced it, and I had my teacher, his name was Mr. Allen, and he was awesome. And everything about our high school choir program, I just thought, this is exactly what I want to do for kids some days, create these musical opportunities and sing this great music, and just continue creating that. I don't know, I guess kind of handing it down, to a degree. And so I was pretty fortunate, because I know a lot of people graduate high school and they spend some time in college or in trade schools, or, in the workforce, and they're not sure what they want to do yet. And all of that's okay. You don't have to know. And people will tell you all the time, they change their minds, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times in 1 year. And that's okay too, right? That's really is okay. You don't have to have everything figured out when you're 14. But I was pretty fortunate that I just had this feeling, and I had a lot of smart people in my life who I trusted and loved, who told me, well, keep your options open. You never know. And I said, thank you. And I'm going to be a music teacher. Like, I just did. I kind of knew that was the career that I wanted to have. So I pursued that right away after high school, and did my 4 years of college at Cornell, just up the road in Mount Vernon. And then I was hired at Solon right out of college. So I've been here ever since.
That's great. Yeah, that is pretty unusual to know that young what it is you want to do, and then be able to kind of follow that path. I've got a follow-up question about that, and then we've got some questions that have come up in the chat.
Yes,
so,
I see.
but, yeah, you can see some of them. My follow-up question is, so you knew when you were young that this was a career that you wanted to pursue. So what were the steps that you took to go kind of from point A to point B there?
Yeah, so for me, because I was already part of a musical family, there were a lot of things that we already did. But I've had some students that have come to me and asked, like, hey, I think I want to do something musical. What should I be doing? And that's well, there's so much. The first thing I would say, that I did and I encourage people to do is just participate in everything you can participate in. And that goes for things outside of music too. Like some of my greatest music students are athletes, and some of the greatest athletes in the school are musicians. Well-roundedness it's a big deal. And I think some people feel like they have to kind of funnel and take all the same classes and just take, whatever they're interested in, just take those classes. And especially in high school and even in college, those are times that your mind is shaped and your perspective is shaped. And it's really good to take a lot of classes and participate in a lot of activities and build communication skills and networks of friends and professors. But specifically to music, I don't think there's anything that helped me more than my piano background. So I started playing piano because my mom was a piano teacher until I got too cool around 13 and I didn't want to take from mom anymore. So she just conveniently left books out on the piano that I would like accidentally find. And then she would kind of coach me from afar. Like, if she was making dinner, she might be like, hey, check your left hand there. I think, because I couldn't take lessons from mom, but we could talk about it, right? Teenage boy syndrome is what that is. And so I kept playing, and piano was really a big thing. I sang in as many groups as I could sing in. I played piano for our concert choir. I sang in a jazz choir and a chamber choir. I did the musicals. I played football, baseball, and basketball in high school. And I just tried to be involved in as many things. They all teach you teamwork. They all teach you how to communicate and plan and have time management, and they're fun. I think that's maybe probably the most important thing. Like, not everything you do has to be about work and prepping for law. Like, do stuff because you enjoy doing it. This is from a movie. I'll give you $1 if you can guess it. But he said, nobody ever picked up a bat and a ball because they were ready to work, right? We want to go play. And I think that's an important piece of it too. My best friendships that I still have today came out of those activities I was involved in school. So yeah, there's a really long answer, but yeah.
No, that was a great answer. And it actually brings us back to one of the questions in the chat. You mentioned that you wanted to be a baseball player until you realized you weren't going to be a baseball player. How did you come to that conclusion?
Yep. Sometimes you have to look at the world through an honest set of eyes. And the honest perspective I had or came to was I was a good baseball player. I was not a great baseball player. I loved baseball and it was fun, but I was not going to be able to go play at like a Division I college. I just didn't have that skill set. I was fine in high school, but it kind of takes a whole nother level of elite athlete to go there. And there are kids that can, and there are kids that's a goal and they work hard at it every day. And you know what? God love them. They should, right? For me, it wasn't about like, I'm giving up on my dreams. For me, it was, I feel called to music, and I had to be honest about, is baseball a wise choice for me at this point? Does that really look like a promising future? Not so much. So I actually still played baseball for a couple years at Cornell while I was there. But it was that was about being involved and doing something I loved to do, not so much about chasing a career.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds wise. One of the other questions in the chat is, what was your first job that you had? Was it related to music or was it unrelated?
Like my very first job or like as an adult?
Nope, like your very first job.
Oh, my very first job was a cashier and waiter at a Godfather's Pizza. So the crazy thing about money is that when you spend it, it's gone. So you have to earn some money if you want some money to spend. And I was in high school and I wanted to start saving for school, for college and stuff too. And so I had a great manager who was awesome with the music kids because our schedule was always kind of nuts with all the concerts and things. And so he let us pick our days off and pick our days to work and made it possible for us to be there. So all our friends worked there too, right? Which was even better. But yeah, I worked for Godfathers in high school. I worked for the Parks Department, mowing lawns and weed eating in the summers. I taught piano lessons in college. I did work study in college. I did secretarial stuff for an admissions office. I had a couple church jobs directing like children's choirs. I had all kinds of different jobs. And I think the best thing, to save up for my wife's engagement ring, we got engaged in college. I worked at a Hardee's for a period of time in college, the only place hiring in January of 2003, 4, whatever that was. Yeah. And I would say, you know what? There are a bunch of those jobs that I didn't really care for, but I will also say that every single one of those jobs taught me a lot. And I met some great people, and I learned to look at everyone around me as just a unique human that has value and worth, and that it takes a whole lot of different positions and jobs and skill sets to make the world go round. And I would say every single one of those jobs I had made me better in some way. So I might not still be mopping floors or weed eating or, pulling trees down in parks and things like that. But there are people who do, and we need them to. And it taught me the value of hard work and what it meant to work for an honest paycheck and be able to provide for myself. And those were all really good things I had, but all still on the way to paying for school and being a music teacher too. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think every experience that we have in life, whether it is different jobs that we've had or different classes that we've taken or different people that we've met, that we learn things through all of those processes. And I think that for sure it shapes, who we are and how we treat other people. And yeah, part-time jobs and full-time jobs are no exception.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, we've got another question in the chat of what is your favorite song? And then also, can you sing a line from the song?
Oh my goodness, you guys. Gosh, that's like asking somebody to say their favorite joke. I don't know if I can pick just one. Right now it's Christmas music, right? So I'm listening to a lot of Christmas music. And there's a composer I really like. His name is Dan Forrest. And he writes these really neat arrangements of Christmas carols, but he writes them with like brass and strings, kind of like orchestrated. So it's choir songs. I mean, I can't really sing all the choir parts, but the one I'm listening to right now, it's one that a lot of people don't know. It's called "See Amid the Winter's Snow." And it's gorgeous. If you type that into YouTube, "See Amid the Winter's Snow," and then you type in the guy's name, Dan Forrest. But here's the key, Forrest has 2 R's. If you check that song out and pump that up, oh man, bring the Kleenex, like a little teary-eyed, like it's a good one. It's a good, so I've been listening to a lot of his music lately. I don't know if I could pick just one favorite song though. That's too hard. Can I cop out of that? Is that okay?
I think that's fair.
Okay.
As a librarian, when people ask what my favorite book is, I feel the same way. It's like, well, this is what I'm reading right now.
Yeah. It depends what's on, right?
Yes, exactly. We've got another question. What is your favorite color?
Blue, far and away blue. And I would tell you, was I close? There was a reaction right there. Was that good? Is that approved? I don't know.
That's my favorite color.
Yes. Well, here's what happened. I always kind of liked blue, but in a math class in school one time, I had a blue shirt, and this really nice girl that sat in front of me was passing back papers, and she said, "Joel, I like your shirt. It matches your eyes." And I was like, oh my goodness. And that year for Christmas, I got a little Christmas money, and I went out and I bought all blue shirts, blue sweaters, blue shirt. Like I was a teenage boy. You just have to forgive me, right? But I've always liked blue. Blue's been my favorite. Specifically, like I'm gonna go with kind of like a teal blue. I'm gonna live in that shade.
That is a great story for why it's your favorite color.
And Miranda, my eyes are blue. If you can see them, they're there. It happens. They're on.
Excellent. Let's see. Any other questions? These have been great so far, friends. So I don't think we have any friends joining us that are in high school yet, but they, are on their way. Do you have any advice for students that are in maybe the intermediate school or the middle school, and they are coming into high school soon, maybe feeling a little nervous? I know that, like you said, there's a lot of music stuff that happens at the high school, and it might be kind of intimidating. Do you have any advice?
Sure. One of the things I think is most special about our music department, and this would be band or choir, musical theater, any of it. Have you guys ever come to any like the musicals? Have you seen the musicals that we've done? Little Mermaid and Mary Poppins and Freaky Friday. There's been Beauty and the Beast, maybe. Up until now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most intermediate and middle school students do everything by grade level. So like there's a 6th grade basketball team, and there's 6th grade math, and there's 7th grade soccer, and there's 7th grade, right? So everything's kind of by one grade. And the really special thing that I love about music at the high school is that it is 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. It's all grades of students, all combined. And so on the first day, when you are a part of the music program, you make friends. We call it our choir family. You make friends in all grades. You have seniors that that you can relate to, that you share something with in common. And it's not just a 9th grade choir or a 10th grade choir, but we're all in it together every day, making music and working towards a common goal. So I would say, at least from what I remember going to high school, I was really worried about like the older kids, and what they would say or what they would think. But when we get into our choirs or our jazz choirs or our musicals, anything like that, you're in those experiences with kids in all grades, from all backgrounds, kids in sports and clubs and academic kids and volunteers. They just kind of do everything. So you run into them a lot. And then when you're at lunch or when you're in the halls, and you're in other parts of the school, you see people you recognize. You see members of our choir family. And I think that's a real comforting thing. So there's definitely there's a lot of opportunity. And I think the important thing to remember is you don't have to do it all. It's okay if you just want to sample some things. And at the same time, I would also say, and this will feel weird maybe to you, but you will never have as much free time and as much accessibility as you do right now. And that applies to no matter what grade you're in, right? So you have the opportunity to try stuff. We have some junior students this year who just joined choir for the first time. And they've been talking all semester about, how they wish they had tried it, in 9th and 10th grade. They love the other students. They love the atmosphere of the music we sing. It's been a really positive experience for them. So I tell everyone, you give choir a shot, even just for one semester. And if you decide it's not for you, that's okay. I'll still wave at you in the hallway and we can be cool, right? I won't be mad. But you might also love it and find that you, enjoy being a part of that program. And then you can decide to do more or less or whatever you want. But then and that's always what I encourage people to do, is make an informed decision based on experience versus assumptions that maybe you have. So it's worth trying it all, but don't be overwhelmed, because, a fourth of the school, a third of the school is in music. And you get to know all of those students really, really well. So it's worth the time and effort for sure.
I think that's great advice, no matter what you're talking about, right? Make an informed decision based on experience, not assumptions.
Yeah, there's a little more behind that, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay, we've got quite a few questions that have popped up in the chat. I think I'm going to work newest to oldest.
Sure.
Have you ever taught anyone younger than high school students?
So I have my job as a high school teacher. It's always been 9th through 12th. But I've directed some children's choirs that have been anywhere from kindergarten to 6th grade. I've played piano for Mrs. Frerich's concerts. So sometimes I get to work with the middle school students. And then I also have a private lesson studio where I teach voice and piano and guitar. And I have students of all ages in that studio as well. So for soul in schools, I've always been a high school teacher, but in other parts of my life or in years past, I've taught other grades and age levels too. Yeah. My dream, here you go. You guys want one? This is like the peek behind. Okay. I don't know how this is going to work yet, but it's been on my heart for a while. I kind of want to start like a children's choir of some kind, like a community children's choir or a boys chorus or something like, like for kids to be involved in, who want to do sports and music, or maybe who aren't big in like youth sports and want something to be connected to. Could be either or. But I have this like dream of somehow making that work. Now all I have to do is find all that crazy time we talked about earlier, but we'll get there.
Yeah, finding time is the biggest challenge, I think, as you get older. Okay, we've got a follow-up question about that, asking if the choir that you do at the high school is like Mrs. Frerich's, where you sing pop songs and modern songs.
Yeah, I think it depends which group you're talking about. So our concert choirs and our treble clef and bass clef choirs, they sing like choral music, like regular choral pieces, but we sing everything from like music in the 1600s to music that's being composed today, but it falls more in the choral category. If you're in our musical theater program, we're singing like Broadway songs, show tunes, stage music. If you're in our jazz choir program, that's where we do everything from like, classic straight ahead standard jazz to arrangements of pop songs. There's, I don't know if you know the song Green Garden. It's kind of a cool song. You can look that one up. We're doing that with our women's jazz choir this year. We're doing another piece with our jazz choir called Virtual Insanity. That's a Jamiroquai piece. You guys probably don't even know who that is, but worth looking up. It's cool. So it just kind of depends which group you're in. We sing, if you're in a little bit of everything, you're going to sing a little bit of everything. There are definitely songs. And the best part, this kind of ties into the very first question, answer what I like it when we sing a piece that kids would never think to pick. Most of you guys wouldn't go back and find some like Gregorian chant to listen to, right? But we'll sing. We're going to do a piece right now called Fore's Requiem that none of my students had ever heard before. But we listened to it and they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it's in Latin, which most people aren't just, sitting around speaking. And so we learn a foreign language and we sing music that you probably didn't know before and end up loving. And you might not love every song, that's okay. But we sing a really wide variety. I think there was a question, choral music, so choir music, classic choral, CHORAL is choral music. So that's really anything sung by a choir. If that makes sense, yeah.
Perfect. Yes, I was going to ask that follow-up question. I'm glad you saw it.
Yes.
Okay, so from what you said, it sounds like sort of the piano is like your core instrument, I guess. But do you have a favorite instrument, either to play or to listen to, or do you like how it looks?
Oh yeah, there's a few. So piano, and if you count voice as singing as your instrument, those are my main two, piano and voice. I have always loved and been partial to the cello. I could listen to cellists play, and I think partly because it's in the same range as like the male singing voice. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but if I hear violins play, I love strings, but if I hear a cello play, I'm immediately like kind of a little bit in love. And then I also love the drum. My dad was a drummer. So he was a timpanist for the symphony, and then he also played drum set. And I could listen to drummers just go forever. I think they're super creative and fun.
Excellent. Okay, one of our questions back in the chat is asking, what is your favorite food? Do you have one?
Oh, gosh, you're like on my favorite topic. How did you know? Okay, so we have a category here. This needs to be like, is this like food like for a meal or is this like dessert? Because that's two different things.
I think answer both.
Okay, so if we're talking food, it's gonna be really close between like steak or ribs, meat eater type, right? That's probably where I'm landing that plane. Barbecue in general, that kind of will go. If it's dessert, I just don't know how you beat ice cream. It's good on its own. It's good on things. It's good on my face. Like it's just ice cream, as long as it has stuff though too. Like I like pieces of things in my ice cream. Cookie dough. You guys like cookie dough ice cream? Right? That stuff is just a gift from heaven right there. Yeah, that's probably where I'm going to land the plane. And cake is a close second, but you can put ice cream on cake. So see.
Or you could put cake in ice cream or birthday cake flavored ice cream. I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
the ice cream cakes at Dairy Queen, like look out. Oh my gosh.
there you go. Ooh, this is a tricky question. I don't know if you're going to want to answer this one.
Ooh, yeah.
Do you pick favorite students? And if not, do you have favorite types of students?
Oh my gosh, this is a great question. And you know what? It's a question the high school kids ask too. Believe it or not, it does come up. So here's typically what I say when this question comes up. Everybody has people that they relate to, some better than others, right? Because you have common interests. So I have students that love baseball. We talk about baseball all the time, right? And so we have fun conversations about baseball. And some people might say, well, maybe they're more Mr. Foreman's favorite student, right? Or I have some students who want to be music teachers. And so we talk about what music teaching is like and things you can do. And some people might say, oh, they're Mr. Foreman's favorite student, right? Those kinds of things can come up. But here's what I would say, my job is to respect and to teach every single one of my students to the best of my ability. And so what I am always looking for is how can I make sure that each student is reaching their potential, that we're maximizing their experience, and that I'm challenging them to grow. And for some students, that might be a student who can't like hold pitch or really sing in tune. And we get them after working and working and working to a place where they can sing a melody by themselves. For other students, right, they've got the melody thing down. Maybe they want the head knowledge part. They want to learn to compose songs and do music theory. They want to learn piano skills. So for me, it's about spending the time necessary with each student to take them where they want to go or even past that, right? And for some students that takes more time, and for others they can do it with little time and attention. Everyone's different. So right, like the answer I'm supposed to say, but also the one that's true is I really do love all my students, and I'm grateful for everyone that comes through the door. And some students are more challenging than others, and some students are easygoing. Just like we're all made differently, right? We all have different characteristics, and that's okay. That's maybe even one of my favorite parts is that so many different people from so many different backgrounds and interests come together to do this one music thing in common. And I think that makes it really fun. It's the only thing in school that's like that. So I look at it as a challenge, but also a really unique opportunity that we have in music to love all our kids and create opportunities for each one of them. That's a good question.
It was a great question. It was also a great answer. I don't know if you can see in the chat, but our question answer said that you passed her test. That's the best answer she's ever heard.
Good.
We've got another question in the chat. What is your favorite holiday? And I would add on to that, is there maybe music from a certain holiday that you really like and appreciate?
Yeah, I mean, 1 week in front of Christmas, that's hard, right? That's hard. I've always really liked springtime though too. Like I do really love Easter. And I love America. So the 4th of July is fun, and it's barbecue, which is my favorite food, and fireworks, which who doesn't want to blow stuff up? That's exciting. Gosh, do I have a favorite? I would say probably if you'd asked me before I had kids, I would have said Easter or 4th of July because spring and summer. But now that I have kids and they're like primetime Christmas age, Christmas is pretty fun. It's kind of different when you go from being the kid to the parent, and it's fun to just see that through a new lens. And I also like it because it's the holiday where we're most likely to have all our family together, and that's a big thing for me. So um, yeah, I'm probably gonna land on Christmas, at least until my birthday is made into a national holiday, and I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
There you go. Oh, we've got a follow-up question. Can you give us an example of Easter songs or 4th of July songs? Like, what do you think of when you think of music for those holidays?
Yes. 4th of July music. I mean, I hear like the marching bands in my head, right? Playing the big patriotic songs, America the Beautiful, God Bless America, some of those. Yeah, fireworks going off to Purple Mountain Majesty. Let's do it. That one's great. Easter songs, the ones I remember, are probably the ones I like sang in church when I was a kid. He is risen, or Christ the Lord is risen. Some of those big anthems with like organ and strings, and which I kind of said about Christmas music too. I like the big full orchestral stuff a lot. Something about it when you combine voices and strings and then throw a little brass in there. Only a little brass though. Mr. C, the band guy, would tell you need lots of trumpet. He and I will work that out. But that's probably yeah, those are the things I think of, the music I think of around those two holidays.
That's great. Oh, and we've got a comment, I think it's hidden in the chat, but she says birthdays are a holiday. So even if it's not a national holiday.
There we go. Well, you know what? I was born on Thanksgiving. So technically, really what my brother told me was I was just a Thanksgiving turkey. He kind of downplayed it.
Well, so do you have special Thanksgiving songs that you sing in your family?
There's nothing really. I mean, I guess it's just happy birthday when the cake comes out, which is, we'll take that. No other Thanksgiving songs, not really.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, friends? These have all been really great.
Yeah, you guys, that's great stuff.
Yeah. Oh, is Thanksgiving on a different day each year? Yes, it is. But so you're saying, Mr. Foreman, that the year that you were born, your birthday and Thanksgiving were the same day?
Correct. Yep. And then it happens like my brother's kind of a math whiz, so he figured this out, but it's like every 7 years, then every 11 years, then every 4 years. And then it kind of does this rotation thing. He looked at the whole calendar. He's another level of crazy smart that I don't get. So I just listen and nod my head when he talks.
Well, and music has a lot of math in it too.
Yeah, music is a combination of all your subjects. Math with subdivision and counting, science with acoustics, physics. It's very kinesthetic, physiological. You have to understand anatomy. It's obviously highly artistic. It connects to history, lyrics with poetry and setting text. You could really combine music with just about any other content area and make some really great connections. There's also all kinds of case studies that they've done around students who are in music and their test scores and GPAs and grades and social emotional health. And there's arguments on both sides of it. So do your research, right? Always peer reviewed. But what I can say from 16 years of teaching is just some of the most wonderful kids that we've encountered, and some of the smartest, best and brightest have always been part of our music program. That's not to say 100% of the time. There's some wonderful students who aren't, and who are very successful too. But I do think there is some truth, just having seen it and worked around it, to students having music as part of their lives and being able to accomplish tasks and to study and time manage and all the good things that go with it, as well as connect all those dots and fire all those brain synapses and all that good stuff. But now we're getting crazy. So maybe that's a little crazy for Thursday afternoon.
No, I love that. As a librarian, I love connecting everything. And I think you're absolutely right. Music is one of those connecting subjects for sure.
Yeah.
We've got a question in the chat. How many kids do you have and how old are they? If you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have 3 kids. There's 3 boys here. Let's see if I can do this. This is like 1 year old. Can I get it on there? So the top one, oh, there's like a glare. Maybe I can do that. Top one's Adler, and this is my middle. He's 6. And this middle one is Graham. He's 11. And this is my big smelly teenager. He's Kale. He's 13. They're my little man. We're working hard on.
Are you teaching them piano like secretly or not?
Yeah, it's kind of standoffish. Yes, there's like my older 2 are a little bit like Dad wants us to play piano. And so we kind of go at that gently and encourage them to do some playing when they want to kind of work at it, but I don't want to burn them out on it. My youngest one puts on YouTube music videos. He sings all the One Direction songs, knows all the words, loves Harry Styles. He's like totally into like pop culture. And I think he's going to be probably our little musician. When we talk about practicing piano with the older 2, he's always like, well, I'll practice piano. He hasn't even started yet. He's like ready to go. So I think one of the 3 at least. The older 2 also play. One of them plays cello and one of them plays bass, upright bass. So they do some string stuff at school. But I would say they have other interests that are above music, but they appreciate music. It's probably where I would land that plane.
You mentioned that your oldest son is a smelly teenager.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the questions is, I've heard teens are smelly. When you have big choir practices, does it get really smelly?
Oh, that's a great question. One of the benefits of high school is that I think most students tend to kind of figure that whole hygiene thing out. So there's usually a pretty good effort for soap and showers and deodorant before they come to school. So our rehearsals are decent smelling, but I do have this little wax warmer that I turn on once in a while just to help it smell fresh in case.
Always important to be prepared.
That's correct. Yes.
What did you say? What did you say?
Oh, we said it's always important to be prepared. These are excellent questions, friends. Any other questions? Anything else you want to know? We've got Mr. Foreman for like maybe 10 more minutes max.
Do you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or something else?
We celebrate Christmas in our house, but I actually had a really good friend. Her name was Jennifer Mason, and she celebrated Hanukkah. We went to school together, and we had the best time because we sat next to each other in our 5th grade class, and we had the best time talking about, because Hanukkah usually comes before Christmas, and so she would talk about like what they would do every night in their family traditions. Whether that was like lighting candles or their feasts as families, presents they would exchange. And then when it came to Christmas time, it was always like kind of on the backside of the break or leading up to it. I would share like what our family would do or what I was looking forward to on break. And I always really enjoyed learning about that and just hearing from other people, like their family traditions and what they celebrate. It's cool to get to know other people. And even if they celebrate the same holiday, right? People have different traditions. Like I grew up, you open the stockings last. My wife grew up, you open them first. So you got to find compromise. It's all about working things out. But in our house, yeah, we celebrate Christmas.
That was a great question. At the library for story time this month, we are reading books and playing activities that have to do with all different kinds of winter holidays. So we did one about Hanukkah. We have one coming up about Kwanzaa, which is great. I've been learning a lot about Kwanzaa and I love that holiday. And New Year's and winter solstice and all kinds of fun stuff.
You bet.
What's Kwanzaa?
Oh, can you ask that question again?
What's Kwanzaa?
Ooh, that's a great question. Mr. Foreman, do you know very much about Kwanzaa?
So I do not have a whole lot of historical background on Kwanzaa. I'll bet Cassie could probably answer that better. I am aware of the holiday, but I don't have a lot of details for you.
That's just fine. I have learned a lot as we've been doing these story times. So Miranda, Kwanzaa is an African American cultural holiday. So that means it's not a religious holiday like Christmas. Usually if you're Christian, you celebrate Christmas. If you're Jewish, you celebrate Hanukkah. But Kwanzaa is for the African American community to celebrate being Black in America. And it started in the 60s. So that means that it's only about 60 years old, this tradition. And it starts the day after Christmas and it goes until New Year's Day. And they light candles and for each day of the holiday. And they talk about different principles and different things that they focus on each day, like creativity, unity, supporting each other. It's a really cool holiday. And we have books about it at the library. So if you want to find out more, you can check those books out. And I think our story time about Kwanzaa, I think we're posting it next week. And I invited some friends to come and talk to us about how their family celebrates Hanukkah. So, or excuse me, not Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. And so you can learn more about Kwanzaa that way too. Okay, I think this is a perfect final question that we've got here. Is there anything that you wish you'd known as a first year teacher?
Oh my goodness gracious. We don't have enough time to answer that entire question, but I will give you the highlights. I think the things I can remember, I actually had a really hard first year when I started teaching. And when you have a music program, you typically, right, are teaching students who have been a part of your program. So there were students in the choir program that had only ever had the teacher before me, and they really liked him. He was a great guy, a really good musician, a super just awesome teacher. And I think there were some kids that were kind of sad that he actually went back to college to get his master's degree. And so there was definitely, that first year was a challenge to connect with some of the students because there was kind of this wall between us, just unhappiness that I was new, right? And we didn't have trust built yet and all those things that have to happen. And I don't think I was expecting to walk into a situation like that per se. So that was definitely something I kind of wish I had prepared or known would happen before I walked in. And I would say the second thing that I don't think any teacher really understands is just the amount of work that you do that is not teaching. So that's not like actually working with students. And that can be office work or grading papers or preparing lesson plans or studying or researching or recertifying or your grad school work or whatever that might be. Like there's a lot of planning and outside of class stuff that goes on for every teacher. And I think until you go through a year and do it, you don't really understand what that looks like. And I'm guessing that's true with other positions too. You learn a lot, but there's a lot of not teaching in a teaching job that you need to do to be an effective teacher, I think. And that was definitely something that I guess I knew was there, but the magnitude of it was pretty shocking sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent closing question, I think. We've got a few more minutes. Any other things that you want to know, friends, about Mr. Foreman or about music or teaching music? Okay, I think you've answered all of our burning questions.
Right, good, good.
Would you recommend teaching as a job?
Oh my goodness. I'm going to answer that question this way. If you are really passionate, really about anything, then the tough stuff you'll figure out a way to do. But I would say the world in general, I'm going to get a little deep here for 2 seconds. I would say the world in general does not need a whole lot more, I'll call it lukewarm or mediocrity, right? The world needs a lot more passion and motivation. I'm not just talking about teaching, I'm just talking about in general. And I think unless you're really passionate about teaching and it's something that you just want to go get in the mud and the work and the hard stuff every single day, I think teaching is a really easy profession to kind of get burned out on. If I'm being honest, you have to really know that's your thing. But if you do, and you are willing to put in that time, it can also be so rewarding. So to a person like I just described, would I recommend it? You bet. But I would say it's not a position that you want to kind of have as a backup or a fallback plan, or something you think you might want to do. I would say there are steps that you can take to figure out and make sure that it's something you really want to do before you try it out. That kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you have, could you enumerate maybe one or two of those steps that you would recommend that, you know, teens who are thinking about going into teaching can look into?
I think that one of the greatest things that you have available to you, and I know you do through Solon Schools, is the ability to job shadow, where you can like go to work for a day with someone in that profession. So you could shadow a teacher for a half day or a full day and see what they really do, what their job is, and ask them some of these tough questions, right? And kind of get an idea. And the second thing that you'll do, that you would do if you decide like, okay, I think I want to try this. You have these things partway through college called practicums, where you spend like a week or two in a classroom. And those are a really good thing to take seriously, because that's where you get like start to get the full flavor of what this would be like every day and what it takes to plan. And you do some of that work before you do your student teaching. So any kind of hands-on experience is super valuable. It's not something you want to walk into blindly. So get around it, or coming to events like this that the library puts on, and, you know, asking all those good, tough questions that you have no idea how hard some of them are. They're really good.
Have you had many students job shadow you?
I've only had a couple job shadow, but I've had a lot of those practicum students from colleges, and a few student teachers too. We get a lot of them just with so many colleges in the area. We get a lot of those students that come by. Obviously not this year, you know, just with the way things are, but yeah, we have students in our rooms a lot. And we have some of these same conversations and ask some of these same questions. It's really good to think about.
Excellent. Okay. All right. For real, last call for any more questions. We've got 1 minute left of our program today. Okay. I think we're good. Well, Mr. Foreman, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate getting a little insight into what it means to be a choir teacher and what it means to be a teacher in general. I guess we'll end actually with this final question from the chat. Do you ever wish that you picked a different job, that you opened that jazz club?
Miranda, you are going to be like in the White House press room someday asking questions. And I just want you to remember this moment and think of me, okay? You just ask the fastballs. I like it. Do I ever wish that I picked a different job? No. Do I ever think about what it might have been like? Well, sure. I think there are a lot of jobs. I do woodworking on the side. I love to work in my wood shop. And, you know, I've thought about like, what would that life be like? And, you know, when you get older, like you have offers for positions that come up, or, you know, people ask you about job opportunities and things. And I think, you know, it's always fun to dream or think about what it is. But for me, at least for right now, my calling is still to work with students, with students and here in Solon. And I I love my job and I love the people I work with and I love the kids I get to teach every day. So I think while it's fun to just daydream sometimes, there are other ways that I can do jazz and there are other ways I can do woodworking. But if I were to do those full time, there's not really a way that I would still be able to teach kids every day. And that's, I think, still probably my number one calling.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. And friends, you may be seeing Mr. Foreman next year or in the next couple of years when you get to high school.
And we are doing auditions right now at the high school for those students for our spring musical. And hopefully we'll be able to be allowed to have some more tickets available in the spring if things are in a better position. But we're doing Elf, the musical, if you've seen the Christmas movie Elf. So we're going to do that for our spring show. So if you're able to come, you can come to the front of the stage and look down in the musical pit and wave. I'll be down there directing the band down below. So come say hi.
Miss McAtee told us that they're going to do Elf.
Yes. Do you have Miss McAtee, your teacher?
No.
Oh, no. She's at your school?
She's a 4th grade teacher.
She's the best. She was my student a long time ago. And you know what? If you want to hear somebody sing, you should ask her to sing because she's awesome. Go put her on the spot tomorrow.
I wish I could.
Is she going to be out in Elf?
No, but she directs Elf. She's the director of the musical. So she teaches all the kids all their acting and lines and blocking. And she does so much. She makes that thing go round and round.
Excellent. Yes. And when you start high school, friends, you will already have a familiar face at the high school. You can go see Mr. Foreman and say hi.
Yeah.
Okay.